Welcome to Grammar Video Notes. Today we're going to be talking about when to use apostrophes. And if you're not sure what apostrophes are, they're like little commas, but they're up high in the middle of your word. So we're going to explore when we use apostrophes and what they mean, and we'll also look at when not to use apostrophes. So for today's lesson, you need to have your notebook. You'll need something to write with. You'll need crayons or colored pencils for color coding, and you'll need the apostrophes handout. It's called When to Use Apostrophes and When Not to. You might have it already put together in a packet in your notebook, or you might have it as a separate page, depending on how it's being used. All right, let's jump in. So here's the page we're going to be working with, when to use apostrophes and when not to. And I'm going to be zooming into different sections so it's easier to read what you're going to be adding to your notes. So there are two main times when we need to use apostrophes. We use them for contractions and we use them for possession. So we're going to start off here where we have contractions by zooming in on the next slide. So let's start by grabbing a green colored pencil or crayon, and we're going to talk about contractions. A contraction is a new word that's made when you take two words and you combine them to make one new word. So like in this first sentence, we have the word can't, and the word can't is created by taking two words and smushing them together. So we have the word can and not, and we turned can and not into the word can't. So when you look at the word can't, I can see can and I can see t, which came from not. But the N-O disappears, and instead all that's left behind is an apostrophe. So this contraction is made from two words that got combined, and then part of those original words disappeared. So here's the paragraph we're working with today. It says, I can't come get you if you've missed the bus. I'll be late for work and they don't let me leave after I've started my shift. Can't you ask your sister if she'll make sure you wake up on time? It's important that you're being responsible. And this paragraph is just full of contractions. So let's grab that green colored pencils and go hunting for the next one. All right, so we've got I can't come get you if you've, I know that's a contraction because there's an apostrophe in the middle. And that's made by combining the words you and have. And when I look at that, I can see you is there and the v is there, but the part of have is gone and it's been replaced with an apostrophe when those two word parts get combined. So you have becomes you've. Let's keep going. I'll be late for work. There's another contraction. I'll is created when we combine the word I, and will. And just like the other ones, here's my word I, it's still there. Here's the double L from will, but this part is missing and got replaced with an apostrophe. I'll be late for work, and they don't let me leave after I've started my shift. So the word don't is made out of do and not. And the word I've is made out of the word I and the word have. So all these words that have apostrophes are created when two words were combined to make one new word. They're called contractions. And there's a couple more. Let's keep looking for them. Can't, that one's a contraction for can and not. Can't you ask your sister if she'll? That's a combination of she and will. Make sure you wake up on time. It's, when we're going to write this one, and this is an important one, it's important that you're being responsible. And we're going to talk about this word you're in future lessons because it often gets confused for other versions that sound really similar. So the big takeaway here is that one time we do use Apostrophes are for contractions. We use them when we're trying to show that two words were combined to make one new word. And we have lots of examples in here like can't, you've, I'll, don't, I've, can't, she'll, it's, and your. Now let's check out the second reason we use apostrophes. So we're going to go back to our notes page, and now we're going to check out this next part, which is possession, and let's talk about what that means. So possession means that something belongs with something or belongs to something. So I'm going to swap out my green for a blue, and we're going to use that to do some highlighting with this idea of possession, when something belongs to something or something belongs with something. So I'm going to say belongs with or to. And here's my example paragraph. Did you see Jason's new shoes? He washed his mom's car all summer to pay for them. Even the shoes' laces are cool. And so let's go looking for those apostrophe usages in here. The first word we see is Jason's. And we see that apostrophe S at the end. So in this sentence, did you see Jason's new shoes? Something must belong to Jason. And we look a little more closely and we can see these new shoes. They belong to Jason. So this apostrophe S at the end tell me that the shoes belong to Jason. It shows possession, that they belong to him. Let's check out the next example. He washed his mom's car. So we see mom apostrophe S. That tells us that mom owns something. Something belongs to mom. And when we look closer, we can see the thing that belongs to mom is the car that Jason was washing. And then in our last sentence, it says, even the shoes' laces are cool. Now this one looks a tiny bit different because it does have the apostrophe, but there's no S at the end. The reason for that is there's already an S at the end of the word shoes. So we say the shoes' laces are cool. And when we look at this one, we see the thing that goes with the shoes, that belongs with them, are the laces. They're the laces that belong with the shoes. Now, for this one, be careful. It says, when the word ends in an S, just put an apostrophe. And here's what we mean by that. We don't say shoes is, we say shoes. There's just an apostrophe, no apostrophe and S. So these are the two reasons why we do have apostrophes. We do use apostrophes when we're showing a contraction, two words being combined, and we do use apostrophes when we're showing possession. Something belongs to something or it belongs with something. But now we need to talk about this next category, times we don't use apostrophes. So we don't use apostrophes for some really important situations. Go ahead and grab your red. We're going to color code those things we don't do in red. The first thing we don't use apostrophes for are plural items. Plural just means more than one. Here are some examples. I have 3 cats and 2 dogs. Notice both of those words have S's, but the reason they have an S is to show more than one cat and more than one dog. We don't say I have 3 cats. We don't put an apostrophe there because that would mean the cat has something. And in this sentence, the cat does not have anything. Neither does the dog. Here's another example. My parents are coming for me. In this one, I want people to know that I have more than one parent and they are coming for me. I'm not saying things belong to the parents. I'm saying there's more than one parent. It's plural. Same thing here. What kinds of jobs can kids do? All of these words in the sentence that end with S are just plural. I want to know different kinds, multiple kinds. I want to know about multiple jobs, and I want to know that lots of kids could do them. I'm not talking about how anything belongs with something else, and we definitely don't have any contractions. So that's the first time. We don't do apostrophes for plural items. The next thing is possessive pronouns. Now that sounds way more complicated than it really is. All this means is we don't use it for words like hers. Those puppies are hers. We don't use it for its in this sentence, and I'll talk about that in a future lesson. But here it says the smallest puppy has a spot on its forehead. These are tricky because the forehead goes with it, and the puppies belong to her. They're her puppies. But I'm not using the exact name. Instead, I'm using what are called pronouns. And so pronouns we talked about earlier, pronouns are things like he, she, it, they, we, I, you. But when we talk about possessive ones, it's the same version of these, but show it belongs to them. So words like his, hers, its, theirs, ours, my, and your. So all of these words, when I'm showing it belongs to somebody, we don't use an apostrophe. These are possessive pronouns. All right, so now let's move to the page next door where we're going to start to apply our new learning. This page starts with some practice exercises. It says, for each sentence, decide if the underlined word shows correct apostrophe usage. Then, explain why or why not. So as we just got done learning, there are two reasons to use apostrophes. We can use them to show contractions, and we can use them to show possession. So basically, we're either going to use them when I'm combining words, when I'm combining words, or when I show that something belongs to or with somebody. So let's look at this first example. Aunt Ruby's suitcases are in the car. So is that a contraction? Did I combine words? No, we didn't combine words. Is it possession? Does something belong to somebody? Yes, the suitcases. The suitcases belong to Aunt Ruby. So this is a correct use because it shows possession. Let's check out the next one. The cars are in the parking lot. All right, I see an apostrophe, so the only reasons to use an apostrophe would be a contraction or possession. Let's look at contraction. Is this two words combined together? Am I trying to say the car are in the parking lot? No, that doesn't make sense. Is it possession? Is it showing me the car, something belongs to the car? No, nothing belongs to the car. So then I have to think, what am I trying to show? Why would I have an S at the end? Am I trying to show more than one car? The cars are in the parking lot. Yeah, I'm trying to show more than one car. So I don't use an apostrophe for that. That's wrong. So I'm going to come over here and say incorrect. It's incorrect because it's trying to show, they called it plural. Plural, more than one. I don't need an apostrophe for that. That would be wrong. All right, let's check out the next one. We haven't visited the zoo today. And we're looking at the word haven't. Haven't. Is something belonging to this? No, that would have an S at the end. Haven't. Wait, haven't is a word made by combining have and not. So if it's made by combining two words, what we're looking at here is a conjunction. Or I'm sorry, a contraction. And so this is a correct usage. We always use an apostrophe for contractions. So we can say this is correct because it's a contraction. All right, So here I'd like to encourage you to pause the video and try the next two on your own, then restart it and see if you were right. All right, our next one is the word bears. The bears were licking their paws. And I have to ask myself, is this a contraction? Am I trying to say bear and is? The bear is were licking their paws. No, that doesn't make sense. Is it possession? Does something belong to the bear? Like, does it say the bear's paws? No, it doesn't. Paws is over here at the end. So I think for this one, we mean plural. I mean multiple bears. It wasn't just one bear. And we know we do not use conjunctions when we have multiple things. So this is wrong. We can cross it out. And we can say it is incorrect because it's trying to show plural or more than one. And finally, we have our last one here. That backpack is hers. Again, I'm going to ask myself, is it a contraction? Am I trying to say that backpack is her is? No. And then the next thing I'm wondering is, does this one show possession? That backpack is hers. Yes, it does. The backpack belongs to her. But wait, there was a special rule when I use words like hers, his, my, yours, and ours, and its. Those are all those possessive pronouns, and they don't use an apostrophe. So we don't have an apostrophe in the word hers. This is incorrect, and it's called a possessive pronoun. So for these special words, we don't use that. All right, we've got one more section to try out. This is our last section. As we're working together, feel free to pause at any point and try it out on your own, and then restart the video to see if you were right. When you're right, give yourself a thumbs up. When you're wrong, just fix it so that you have correct notes. All right, this last section says, find and fix the apostrophe errors in the sentences below. So as we're looking, we want to ask ourselves, do we have, if we are using apostrophes, it should be for a contraction, or it should be for possession, but we should not use it for plurals, and we should not use it for possessive pronouns. All right, here we go. Today's PE activities are running lines and shooting free throws. So first, I'm going to use my yellow and highlight anytime I see an apostrophe so I know to check it out. All right, today's PE activity. So do the PE activities go with today? Yes, they do. It's trying to show me that the activities belong with today. So that one is good. We want to keep that apostrophe because it shows possession. All right, let's look at our next one. Today's PE activities. Am I making a contraction? Am I trying to say activity is? Today's PE activity is are. No, that doesn't make sense. It's not a contraction. Does anything belong with the activity? Today's PE activities are. Nope, there's a verb. I think they're just trying to tell us there are multiple activities. And in that case, that would be plurals. So we don't want an apostrophe. Instead, we want the word activities. A-C-T-I-V-I-T-I-E-S. Activities. Today's PE activities are running lines and shooting free throws. Oh, we've got another apostrophe. Okay, is this a contraction? Shooting free throw is. No, it's not a contraction. Is it possession? Does something belong to the free throws? No. I think they mean we're going to shoot more than one free throw. That's plurals, and plurals don't get an apostrophe. If I'm trying to show more than one free throw, I just use an S. It does not have an apostrophe. So the only one that stays is in today's. Let's check out the next one. I'm going to get my yellow ready to find apostrophes. Oops. John's brother and Jameer's cousin are on a soccer team together. All right. So this first one, John's brother, is it a contraction? Am I trying to say John is brother? It's not a contraction. Is it possession? Does something go with John? John's brother. Ah, brother belongs with John. So that's the only apostrophe they had, but did you notice there's a spot where there's an apostrophe missing? If John's brother, John's, has an apostrophe, look at this next phrase, Jameer's cousin. Do I mean more than one Jameer? Is there more than one kid named Jameer running around? No, instead what I'm trying to show is that this cousin belongs with Jameer. He's Jameer's cousin. So I need an apostrophe to show that they belong together, to show possession. All right, on to the next one. We don't know where my friend's shoes are. Oh, that's quite the problem to have. All right, so let's look at our apostrophes. We don't know where my friend's. Do I mean friend is shoes? No, it's not a contraction. Could I mean possession? Do the shoes belong to the friend? Yes, they're the friend's shoes, so that's possession. This apostrophe can stay. Let's look at the word shoes. Does something belong to the shoe? No, I'm trying to say there's more than one shoe. Probably two shoes. It's a pair of shoes. So this one doesn't belong. Now go back and look. There's a contraction in this sentence that's missing its apostrophe. Did you find it? It's right here, the word don't. Don't is short for do not, so we need to go back in and add our apostrophe. Next, we have this sentence. We'd like to order tacos and sodas. I see an apostrophe here in the word we'd, and I see an apostrophe at the end of sodas. Let's check those out. We'd like to order tacos and sodas. This is short for we would. The D stays and the we stays, but this part got deleted. So that means we have a contraction. This use of an apostrophe is correct. Here at the end we have the word sodas. Now do I mean soda is? We'd like to order tacos and soda is? That doesn't make sense. Could this one show possession? Does something belong with the sodas? No, I think they just want to order more than one soda. So that would be plurals. No apostrophe needed. And on to our last sentence. Video games and BMX racing are hobbies of theirs. All right, let's use our strategy. Let's look at this first one here, hobbies. Is this a contraction? Am I trying to say BMX racing, our hobby is of theirs? No, it's not a contraction. Could it be possession? Does something belong with the hobbies? No, I think they're just trying to say that those are their two hobbies. It's a plural, so we don't need an apostrophe. And then this last word, hobbies of theirs. Am I trying to say there is? Video games and BMX racing are hobbies of there is? That doesn't make sense. And we know there doesn't, we know there is something like their video games and BMX racing are hobbies of theirs. These are the hobbies that belong to them, but it doesn't have their name. This is another one of those possessive pronouns, just like his, hers, theirs, ours. So for those ones, we don't use an apostrophe. Theirs, hobbies of theirs, just by itself. It does not get an apostrophe. All right, so that is the work we needed to do around understanding when to use apostrophes and when not to. If it's still feeling confusing, it gets way easier with practice. So using your notes, you can now tackle new activities and you can always go back and check what you've written down already.